Moshavi, a descendant of the Black Jews from ancient Israel. And he's not joking. According to Malema, his spiritual identity goes far deeper than we ever imagined. He claims black people, yes, black South Africans, are part of a lost Jewish lineage that stretches from Israel to Zimbabwe to Limpopo. But is this a political stunt, a misunderstood cultural truth, or a powerful declaration of spiritual resistance? Let's break it down.
Perhaps let me start with Moshavi. I have a lot of vendor friends. One time they had me calling you Moshavi at a press briefing, so they were like, but Moshavi, give my vendors.
Yes.
How is Julius in Moshavi?
Yeah.
Do you mind educating people?
Well, Bashavi is not vendors.
Yeah.
Bashavi is the black Jews
Yeah.
who came from Israel, landed in Yemen, and then spread all over the world. They are found in Zimbabwe. They are found in Karanaland, in Zambia. They are found everywhere else. But because they come from Israel, everywhere else where they settle, they assume the language of those people. So because they came from the north, they ended up, majority of them, in South Africa, being in Venda. So because they are found in their majority in Venda, a lot of people assume they are vendors, but that is not the case.
Oh,
Yes.
so just tell us.
So you find Bashabis in the Pedis, Bumatale, Burametsi, Bumalema. So Kasal Matale, the deputy minister of police, is a Mshabi as well, but he's a Pedi speaking person.
So does that explain your close relationship?
Yes, we are relatives because as the black Jews, wherever we find each other, we embrace one another, support each other, defend each other, and share a lot of ideas together. So that's what brought us together.
Oh, family-wise, Moshavi, you once spoke, I think it was the last press briefing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Now pause. Did you catch that? Malema isn't just talking about family nicknames here. He's laying claim to an ancient identity, a spiritual legacy that stretches back over 1,000 years. And it's not just about culture. It's about power, history, and the Black African claim to divine heritage. Let's talk about who these Black Jews are. They're known as the Lemba people, a mysterious, often overlooked group in southern Africa, living mainly in Zimbabwe, South Africa, and Mozambique. For centuries, they've insisted that they're descendants of Jewish tribes from the Middle East. People laughed until science proved them right. In the 1990s, genetic tests found that many Lemba men carry the Cohen-Modal haplotype, a specific Y chromosome marker linked to Jewish priests, the Kohanim. One of their clans, the Buba clan, had this marker in over 50% of its males. That figure is shockingly high, even among modern Jewish populations. Scientists and historians had to stop and say, this isn't myth anymore, it's real. And that's what Malema is pointing to when he calls himself Moshavi. He's not just making cultural claims, he's linking Black South Africans to biblical tribes, to holy tradition, to spiritual authority. It's as if he's saying, we are not the forgotten, we are the chosen.
I'm a Christian at heart. I believe there is God above all of us, and it is that God that gives us guidance. But I talk to God through my ancestors. I practice African rituals. Every year, ke phasa badimo, because God, to me, is like a king. You don't go to the king on your own. That is disrespectful in the African culture. O tsena moshate ka balata ba moshate. You don't just go straight. So I go to God through my ancestors, and I believe that I have a duty to do that. So if you look at the articulation of the Jesus Christ and all of that, it's the ancestor also. I have no problem with the ancestor. They must not have a problem with my ancestors.
All right.
So now hold on. This isn't just religion. This is revolution. Malema says he's Christian, but not in the way the West defines it. He blends his faith with ancestral worship, African spirituality, and radical reinterpretations. He says ancestors are mediators to God, just like in ancient cultures, just like in the traditions of the Lemba. And in Malema's worldview, even Jesus Christ is an ancestor. This is a bombshell, because it directly challenges how Christianity was imposed during colonization. It refuses to separate African identity from spiritual legitimacy legitimacy, and it says proudly, "We don't need to abandon our ancestors to know God. This is the decolonization of the soul." And here's the part that stunned me the most in my research. Malema's Moshavi identity might sound new, but it connects to centuries of forgotten history. Let's dive in. The Lemba oral history says they came from a place called Senna, a real city in Yemen. They describe traveling by boat from the Middle East, down the coast of East Africa, and settling in southern Africa. And they didn't just blend in. They brought architecture, trade, and religious customs that made them distinct. Even the great Zimbabwe ruins, some say, were influenced by Lemba craftsmanship. Anthropologist Tudor Parfit, a white Jewish scholar,